Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 386 of the Mailright podcast. Today, we're going to talk about one of our favorite things to talk about, which is going to be a review of some of the leading real estate providers, which we're going to update because we certainly have talked about these people before, but we're going to update our opinions for 2023. John and I are really looking forward to do it. We're sorry to all of you listeners that are our loyal and true followers that we've taken until about the middle of the year to update. But as you all know, the market's kind of been a little bit topsy-turvy. It's settled down. And now we think, well, kind of settled down. And now we think that it's a good time to update our overall thoughts about these lead providers in 2023. And this list is going to be a lot of people that a lot of you know, Realtor.com, Zillow. We're going to talk about some of the big ones today. But before we get into this incredibly awesome subject, I would love to be able to introduce to all of you to my co-host, Jonathan Denwood, who is the original founder of the Mailright Show, the original founder of the WP Tonic Show, a huge influencer inside the WordPress space, a entrepreneur inside the real estate marketing space. John, without any further ado, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Oh, thanks for that, Rob. I'm the co-founder of mail-right.com. We provide a CRM and an attractive website that competes with systems like Real Geeks. Back over to you, Rob.
Wonderful. And I'm the founder of Inbound REM. We're an inbound marketing company that specializes in SEO, among many other things. And if you'd like to learn more about me or anything that we do, just go to inboundrem.com and you'll be able to learn plenty. Without drifting off our core subject, we're going to talk about, first and foremost, if you start talking about real estate lead generation, you absolutely, positively, whether we like it or not, have to start the conversation off with Zillow. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the Zillow Premier Agent Program, which is the main, not the only, but the main lead generation program that Zillow sponsors. John, I'm going to let you, like you did a really great job. You took some copious notes and you put down some thoughts about them. But why don't you go ahead and do the intro, the remaining intro on Zillow? The lead in.
You know,
If I don't know who Zillow is, who's Zillow? Who's Zillow? If I don't know them.
They started the craze, that's the wrong word. They were founded by a Microsoft executive who was highly successful in the holiday vacation package website. And then he sold that and he started the first Zillow as a portal, built the technology, the web technology, so you can see easily what homes are available for sale in your area, and a host of other innovative tools. They are extremely controversial in the real estate industry. Some of the criticism is justified, some of it is unjustified. They are controversial. I think anybody can say that. They're extremely controversial in the real estate industry. And they provide they call it their Zillow Premier Agent product, which people go into the website, seeing a property, then they will see if you want to, do you want to get more information on this property? Information is gathered. They also they can cleanse the lead. What I mean by that, they can check the lead over. Somebody from their organisation can ring it up, the potential lead, and make sure that they're active. That's the fundamentals. So I'm sure you've got a lot more you can add to that. I've just given a very rough outline.
Well, there's a lot of reasons that they're controversial. Let's talk about some of those, because a lot of you listening to the show would be curious to know what we have to say. And if you don't know them that well, or you know them a bit, Zillow got their start by collecting or making popular something called listing syndication. Now, they weren't alone. They weren't the founder of this concept. They're just the ones that really like made it hard to compete with. And then eventually they got so good at search engine optimization, getting found for all the major searches related to properties, that eventually what happened is that if you list a property, you're basically competing against yourself, because everybody's going to look for it on Zillow, give you to another sales agent. That sales agent, which might be on the opposite side of the transaction as you, but effectively could very well be your listing. You published it in one single place, maybe with your MLS, and the next thing you know, somebody from Zillow is contacting you and telling you that they have the buyer side agent for, the buyer side representative. It's all Zillow. Zillow's locked up the marketplace, just like they did with travel, by the way. And the name of the CEO that you were looking for was Rich Barton. Okay. So, and actually, no, Rich Barton is the current CEO. I'm my bad. He's not the founder. All right. December 2004 is when this company was founded in Seattle. But there's a few other things that are controversial about it, John. It's controversial if you're investing in the company. They've never pulled a profit, ever. Okay, not once, not for any quarter, not ever. They currently they lost $22 million on $469 million in revenue. So they're doing all of these things, creating a less than awesome attitude amongst real estate agents, and yeah, they are not making any money doing it, which is the fucking sorry about that, everybody.
That's right.
Which is the hilarious part about it, or maybe ironic part about it, maybe a better, nicer way to say all that. Anyway, love them, hate them, Zillow has become the company to beat. Now, they are called a platform, not a system, because they're so big places that you're always going to find Zillow. You're even going to find Zillow in other markets that they don't necessarily specialize in, such as Canada, which is also controversial. So we can go on and on about all the different controversial things about Zillow.
Yeah,
But
I think the main thing. Sorry, to interrupt slightly, but I think the main thing it does work. I think the main two things were that I got from my research. I don't know them as well as you do. Is that basically you've got to be available 24/7. If you're in a competitive area, they do share the leads with a bank of agents. What I've read lately is that they're trying to find premier partners that are normally brokerage. And if you're in a competitive metropolitan area, those relationships have been built. So they'll probably take your money, but the real premier relationship has already been built. So you're just going to get the extra capacity, maybe. That's the sense of the research I did. I don't know if that's totally true. I'm just going by the research I did before this show. And it's the cost. I'm interested in what you think about the cost, the to the benefit you get. I think you will get leads. I think you will get actual. The other criticism is it's very buyer focused. It's not that seller focused. I don't know what you think about that, Robert.
I think that's true. I think their whole platform is based on people searching for a new home, not selling an old one. They would love to be able to pick up homes, and they have made efforts to do that by buying Trulia, StreetEasy, more. That's just the list of big subsidiaries that they've bought. The loop, the back end side, the transaction side, is them taking a stab at trying to own more of the real estate transaction process. I think that ultimately, if you're an investor, I think that Zillow is a brilliant concept, executed well. And from that level, from a business standpoint, I think that great. I also think that rarely in the history of American business has a core business so alienated part of its customer base.
Yeah.
Almost every single real estate agent I talk to views Zillow as a necessary evil. Very few of them have anything overly positive to say, except for the fact that they can occasionally spend $800 to $1,000, or I know somebody spending as much as $1,000 a lead right now on Zillow, and they still manage to pull in like a 1.5% return on investment. Some people pull in, like I've got one guy in Michigan who's still using Zillow. Last time I talked to him, he's still pulling in a 7-to-1 ROI on his spend with Zillow. So if you buy a lead and you can pull a 7-to-1 profit margin, that makes them one of the most profitable lead sources that there is. That's just, I hate it, John, but that's a fact.
Yeah.
Like that is, and that's what my case studies tell me over and over again, is that the reason they're still here and the reason they're still successful, because not one of the people I mentioned, not the guy doing 7-to-1, none of them like it. All of them want to get rid of Zillow. But where are they going to get a 7-to-1 return on investment where the lead is qualified, gets sent to them? They understand they're competing against themselves. They understand they're contributing to their own demise as far as a profession is concerned, and yet they still buy the Zillow lead. The good news, though, for all those listening to the show, is that there are a lot of ways that Zillow just has never managed to pivot to the market, and I don't think they will. For instance, John, the biggest one, without question, the influencer marketplace of today that Zillow did not even have to think about in 2004, it didn't exist. It is not doing any favors to Zillow, and Zillow may never actually be able to pivot to the point that they're successful unless they can start to leverage influencers inside their own platform, people that are partnered. That's where the premier agent thing is coming from. But I don't think that Zillow can get down to a price point that is going to be good enough for these influencers that it makes sense for them to stay a Zillow influencer, paying them 30% of their deal and giving them part of their influence and reputation to boot. I don't know that Zillow can pivot to that.
Yeah.
And so ultimately I think that we have a little ways to go. I think that Zillow is probably going to be making money for investors and such for a little while longer, but I don't think that I wouldn't be surprised if they sold the whole thing off. Like if they just kind of changed paths, got rid of it, scaled down. I don't know. We're ever going to see them make a profit.
Yeah. On to realtor.com then. Should we go then, Rob?
Let's do it. So, Rupert Murdoch's favorite project, Realtor.com. Did all of you know that Rupert Murdoch owns this bad boy? News Corp bought Realtor.com in 2014 and then made a whole series of acquisitions right behind it as recently as 2019. And one of the many things that they did that was fascinating is Rupert Murdoch bought all property information, as in he owns it, for $1 billion trade. So your property data is probably owned by Rupert Murdoch. That's the truth. And Realtor.com is the company that owns all of that data. They're based in Westlake, California. I've interacted with them many times. One of my closest, longest friends that I've had for 20, 30 years, her mother is one of the original co-founders of Realtor.com. So they're based in Westlake. I grew up in Thousand Oaks and Agoura. That's neighboring cities. I've got lots of association with this particular company and all the people that work there, how it was founded, how they're running it. As a matter of fact, I recently talked to CEO, shall be nameless, who was working there, and then it got bought by Realtor.com. And he was saying how the direction and the focus of the company changed, and he decided to de-entangle himself from them at that particular time. I'm going to say that my overall opinion of their lead generation efforts is actually between the two, Realtor.com and Zillow. I think that Realtor.com is positioned better than Zillow long term, is my opinion.
Yeah,
I just think,
the research I did online, most of them was in agreement with your statement that you've just made.
yeah, I mean, you can love them or hate them just like Zillow, but they're more aggressively positioned. They do a better job at trying to provide value inside the lead service. They're more account executive oriented, which just means that if you're a realtor, you get a more personalized service like as part of what you're doing. Zillow keeps trying to put technology in the middle of the relationship, whereas as Realtor.com is putting a human being in the middle of the relationship, and that creates a different experience for the people buying leads from Realtor.com. I know this for a fact.
Would
So
you agree with the research I did? The research I did was saying it's about a lead is about a third to half the price than Zillow. Do you think
oh
that
yeah,
might? Yeah.
yeah. And I would say that with their Op City purchase, Realtor.com is doing just as good of a job at Zillow. They understand both the give me a percentage market and buy a lead from a market. Their lead prices seem to be coming down with the marketplace getting more competitive. I'm pretty sure that Realtor.com is profitable. Zillow is not. It's kind of a crazy, you know, like when you're looking at both companies, you're sitting here scratching your head and going, why don't I hear about Realtor.com more? And I'm hearing so much about Zillow. It's kind of nutty, I think, John.
It is a little bit, isn't it? I can't. Obviously, I'm from the UK. I know the Murdochs, um, the family, and the founder, not personally, but they've been on my radar for most of my adult life. I don't particularly like him, but I respect him as a business individual and the organisation. They're definitely not fools. They know how to make money. But if I could avoid doing business with them, I would. But I think if you can utilize either, I think you probably might be better off looking at realtor.com rather than Zillow. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Um, so one of the interesting facts is that agent revenues grew by 55% according to most of these companies that track them, and between the two, Realtor.com or Zillow, Realtor.com grew their agent revenues more. So in other words, it paid you better to be working with Realtor.com for the leads that you were buying than it did with Zillow in the 20. And they make where Zillow doesn't. Like, it really kind of says, but I do know that my instinct is, one, it would be better to buy leads from them, and two, they're probably a better company. Whether or not everybody agrees with that, or who knows, but they're certainly not as popular as Zillow. I can say that. And they're
Yeah.
not doing as much traffic as Zillow is. I can say that too. That's easily researchable. But
Yeah.
for those of you who are listening to John and I trying to figure out who you're going to buy leads from, my opinion would be that Realtor.com is probably a better platform. And my experience with them personally says that you should very carefully check the credentials of the account executive that gets assigned to you at Realtor.com, because I've heard horror stories about some and glorious stories about others. It really kind of comes down to who do you get assigned to. And if you don't like the person that you're assigned to, get yourself assigned to somebody else.
Right. Shall we do on to the next one, Rob? SmartZip.
Yeah. Finds a analytics of direct mail listed here. They use their predictive marketing to identify likely home sellers and then mail those home sellers personalized pieces designed to get them to call you. It's a tech-savvy way of running your direct mail campaign and focused on listing leads. SmartZip is worth considering for those of you who are farming with direct mail component. I've heard good things about SmartZip, but like all direct mail campaigns, I've also heard that it takes a long time. That's the only input that I've got for you, John.
Yeah, I did a bit of research. They've got their own CRM. They've got other tools that when you sign up with them, they provide. Like I say, they provide their own CRM system, and starts at 1,000 plus. So, but that sounds a lot more expensive. But what I heard, to get any result from Zillow or Realtor, you're probably between 500 and 1,000 at least anyway. And the reviews I read online when I was doing my research, it was of the systems, it was pretty rated. That's as much as I know about them. I didn't know if you knew anything, you had any experience with them, because that's as far as my knowledge goes with them.
Client. Maybe
Oops.
one.
You're breaking
I
up.
will say that so I think I know one person that's used them.
Right.
But that person, if I remember correctly, I think they said that it was profitable. I don't remember them raving or saying that it was incredibly profitable or it changed their business. But I mean, man, if you can get a 2-to-1 or a 1-to-1 or a 1.5 right now in today's market, and what's more, you can maintain something that covers its cost or better, helps you build your database and sets you up for the warmer real estate markets that are likely to come, then I think it's worth considering, especially when they're not as competitive. Like, they're trying something different, they're doing a different mechanism. I have no direct experience with them, John. Can't say anything bad about them, can't say anything good about them either, except for the one review that I recollect.
Yeah. Shall we go for a break then, Rob?
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages and real estate experience levels, we deeply appreciate you listening to the Mail Right Show today, tonight, whatever time it happens to be for you. John breaks his English behind producing this show for you. I would consider it a personal favor if you would go to the mail-right.com website or go to youtube.com/mail-right and look at some of the shows, maybe leave a couple thumbs ups, leave a couple comments on anything there. Let John know, love him, hate him, think he's stodgy, whatever it is, drop a comment on his channel. We'd appreciate it. Barring that, we're going to be back in a few minutes. We're going to talk to you about offers, market leaders, set schedule, and so stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're super excited to be able to talk to you about some of the leading real estate providers of 2023. Today's show is number 386. John and I have done over 150, 80 of these together. It's been an amazing experience. Before we went to break, I asked you to check out John's YouTube show on youtube.com/mail-right. Please do that. Without any further ado, we're going to go down to the next provider on our list, which is Offers, OFFRS. I always get confused on this one, John, so I'm making sure to spell it for those people. And this is $200 plus per month. Offers is a real estate lead generation software designed to generate listing leads using predictive analytics. I understand what they're supposed to do. What they do is they take an average time cycle in the area that you're in, and they drop you mail when you've been in the house for a particular time. And I think they also sell data. They also probably sell data, directly contact, do a couple different things, but it's all based on predictive analytics. I have never heard anything good or bad about these guys. I have heard a couple people tell me that they felt like the analytics was correct, but that some of the math on it was wrong. Like, it didn't necessarily generate them any business. But I haven't heard much about them.
Well, it's very similar to SmartZip, but they don't. I'm only going by my research. They don't provide a CRM. They don't provide a dashboard that you log into, which shows the properties. The reviews I read said that it was working. Some of the reviews were quite glowing, but you got to take a review as a review. A newer player, 10 cents each lead, 20 cents each exclusive lead, 400 a month for leads in one zip code, 800 a month for exclusive leads in one zip code. So they seem to be offering exclusive access to specific zip codes, which I don't think SmartZip and obviously Realtor and Zillow don't offer that. So that's part of it. But until I started doing my research for this show, they weren't on my radar. I didn't know if they were on your radar. I think they're plausible. And if you go to the show notes, I'll have all the links to these in the show notes. So go and have a look.
I think that these predictive analytics companies are all incredibly good. And if they leverage the technology with anything other than a also ran marketing approach, I think it's brilliant. And for those of you out there that are creative marketers, I think that any of you, like there is Jimmy Burrows, who's been on the show a long time ago. I may be getting his name wrong.
I'm trying to get him back on the show because he was excellent, but he's very polite to me. I've asked him about 2 to 3 times, but he's also extremely busy. and he's
Hmm.
not been able to come back. But I will bug him again because he was such a fantastic guest, wasn't he?
He really was. And so he had an approach to this that I think would be excellent, which is, hey, we get out in front of people that are in a home in a neighborhood where a home has been sold recently, and then we talk to them about the sales price, and we come up with a customized estimate for their own home, while using BombBomb and other video technology to really personalize the approach, make it feel one to one. He had an incredibly strong result from that, got many sales and leads from doing that approach. I think it was just genius. Here's what I also think, though. I think that if you combine that with a tool like SmartZip that was actually checking who in the neighborhood
Mm.
was at that specific window of time when they might be looking, wow, I just think that that would be what a heck of a combination that would be. What an incredible approach. You and I could probably build a whole nother marketing company off just doing that.
Well, I leave that for you. I've got enough problem. I've got enough put enough energy running the two. I'm already um, market.
Right.
I'll be really. So, shall we go on to market leader? Because I'm
Please.
really interested to hear what you think of these people.
I haven't heard of anybody making money with Market Leader in a long time. They're still using antiquated tools, real estate templates. They're behind in every single category that a person could be behind in inside the real estate marketing space. They got sold for $125 million, like back in the height of the real estate marketing industry in 2014, 2015, and then have done a big fat nothing that I can figure out. Like I don't even I'd be I don't know. You tell me what you think of them. I want to look at something really quick.
I couldn't. I really couldn't make out why you would use them. Why? Because I got to be honest. I'm pitching Melrite against real geeks and maybe a bit like bold leads and um, Easy Agent Pro. That's what I kind of pitching Melrite. But I've got to be truthful. If I was looking utilizing these people, I'd probably look at real geeks and they're pay and have the budget to utilize their paid advertising services. I really couldn't see if you were looking at either real geeks or these people. It seemed a hybrid. It didn't really. It was all the research I did, all the reviews I've read for this episode. They kind of had market leader in the list of reviews, but in some ways I couldn't understand why they were part. It didn't seem to fit in with the other players that we're talking about in this episode, Robert.
And they were a leader back in 2004. Their IPO, their valuation was $372 million. I doubt they're worth a tenth of that anymore. I don't know for sure, but they just have not kept up to speed with what is happening inside the real estate market. And honestly, I have heard of a couple people every now and again using them, but it's been a long time since they've been a standard name brought up in any conversation that I've been having.
All right then. So yeah, I think that about sums it up. Do you want to go on to set schedule?
Yeah, well, I don't know much about these guys. So sure, let's move on to them, but why don't you tell us what you learned about them?
Strange name, isn't it? It's worse than Mel hyphen right. But I think set schedule's even worse actually because it sounds like a calendar system, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And some of the reviews say that. It seems to be playing in the same space as offers, really, and offers and SmartZip to some extent. It's using AI technology. I'm sure. I think I read that on offers as well as they were using AI. You know, it's a bit of a catchphrase at the present moment. It seemed an interesting platform. It's referral only. They get 20% referral fee on a converted lead. That's their model, which is different than offers or SmartZip. That's the main. I don't know if that's good, bad. That puts you totally off them, or what your thoughts. That seemed to be of the three that we've discussed in this second half of the show, it seems to be their main differential is they get a 20% referral fee on a converted lead.
Okay. Well, hold on a second here, John. I'm having a bit of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Can you still
Yes,
see me and hear me?
yes, I can. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to say this. I think that revenue split models are very unpopular with agents. I think that companies that are confident enough to provide them generally tend to have a marketing offer that works for sure, from what I've seen, or they wouldn't offer a revenue split as a model. But at the same time, are agents overly fond of these models? Never. New agents, older agents, they never seem to feel like me giving you 30% is worth it.
Well, it's a bit like the franchise industry. You find people, and for good or bad, people when they're 1 or 2, 3 years into a franchise, they tend to start to really resent the franchise fees that they have to pay. That's my understanding. I've never been involved in a franchise, so I looked at a couple when I came to America, and I just gave up on the business model and the companies because after 4 or 5 deep dives with different companies, they all were very lacking in their resolve to give you real information. Shall I put it that
Right.
way? They weren't, which was a red flag for me. Yeah, I understand it. I wouldn't be that keen because you probably worked for that money. So I understand that. So, shall we, of all the ones that we've talked about in the show, Robert, if you were an agent, which 1 or 2 would you yourself look at?
If I was an agent, I'd be looking at both of the predictive analytics companies that we talked about, SmartZip and the other one. I don't remember what the name of it was off the top
Offers?
of my head.
Offers?
Yeah, offers. Because they offer the largest opportunity for ROI. Realtor.com and the platforms, while they do offer a more surefire way to generate leads, and they certainly are interesting from that perspective, the profit margin is going to be slimmer unless, of course, you're a master networker and you can get into their address books through the sheer will of your relationship building skills, which I probably could do. But that strategy and approach is only going to be good as long as there is a farmable number of friends and family that are ready to do real estate transactions in a somewhat timely manner. In other words, I'd be inclined to try the two. If I was brand new into my career, I would definitely go with realtor.com.
Yeah.
Brand new into my career, it's realtor.com. No doubt about it. For those listening, realtor.com. A little bit later in my career, I'd be testing out these predictive models. That's me. How about you, John?
I totally agree. If you're a new agent and you've got some budget, and you should have built a little war fund of 6 months, I would hit on the door realtor.com just to get things going, just to get. There's nothing. I think you've got to be realistic. Unless you've you've done a lot of marketing or networking, or you've got a big local network. You're a mixer. A personality anyway. I think there's nothing worse spending 6, 7 months, 8 months and not getting any leads. I think if you got any kind of budget, I'd just hit realtor.com, and then I would look at the Real Geeks, Mailrite, and with these services, the other ones that you've mentioned. But if I was starting off and I could afford, I had the budget, yeah, realtor.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, I think that's a good place for us to wrap the show up, ladies and gentlemen. I agree with everything you said, John. I'm not going to bother. There's nothing more for me to add to it. We're pretty much in accord at the end of this review of some of the top real estate providers in 2023. If any of you think that we've done a great job, we would love it if you would go to our respective websites.
Yeah.
John, where would you like to send people who are just thrilled to death with you?
Well, that'd be nobody then. Right, so that's the end of that. But then, so if you're feeling charitable, go over to mel-right.com, have a look at what we've got to offer, have a look at our reviews, blog, podcast. You can also go to Rob's website. Him and his team are doing a fantastic job on their website, and they've got a ton of stuff as well. A lot more actually. Yeah, they're both great resources. Back over to you, Rob.
Agreed. And my website is inboundrem.com. That's inboundrem.com. Thank you so much for tuning in the show. My name has been Robert Newman. I've been piloting for you today. My brilliant other co-host is Jonathan Dinwood. He's the English bloke. So we appreciate your ears and your attention always. Thank you.